Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this third lunch lecture of the Spotting Bullshit series. My name is Sanne Helbers, and the Spotting Bullshit series is organized by Studium Generale. Spotting Bullshit, actually, it pretty much reveals itself. What we aim to achieve with this is actually to spot bullshit, which actually comes down to that we are trying to spot when we are being tricked through communication means or media. And today we are going to zoom in on troll armies, and we have invited Jesse Evers here from DROG, which is a platform that aims to immunize as many people as possible to misinformation. Well, unfortunately, we would have loved to welcome you to the TU Delft Library today, but as you all know, due to the COVID-19 restrictions, that is unfortunately not possible. So this lecture is entirely offered to you online. You can log into YouTube and leave your comments or your questions in the chat. And otherwise, you can go to menti.com, as you can see, and fill out the code 5602934. This will return a couple of times during the presentation, so don't worry. You will be able to jot in your questions for sure. All right, so let's start. Jesse, can I invite you, please, to take over and teach us how we can destroy truth?
Sure thing. Welcome. I can make very good sandwiches. About 2 years ago, I made the best tuna melts, barbecue chickens in The Hague, and some tempeh vegetarian sandwiches too, of course. And at the restaurant where I was working, there was this one peculiar, jumpy, funny guy coming in every week on a Wednesday morning, ordering the tuna melt, and he came back regularly, week after week. So what happens? You build up a relationship as a client and a customer, and we started talking. And in those talks, we agreed on two things, or three things maybe. First of all, tuna melt was the best sandwich, but secondly, we also agreed on the fact that there is no absolute truth when it comes to the internet. I mean, maybe there is an absolute truth, but it's definitely, and that would be the second thing we agreed on, wrong to believe that you can actually control what is true and what is false on the internet. So today, I'll be speaking about troll armies and about spotting bullshit, but mostly I'm actually trying to ask you, can we together create bullshit today? I think we're about 28 people, so think about, turn down your moral compass, and today we're a troll army of about 30 people, and we're going to think in this next 45 minutes how we can create the best bullshit. I'm working for DROG and Attack. DROG is the mother company, Attack, I'm the director of Attack, and both are platforms that are trying to find solutions to counter disinformation based on this discussion over a tuna melt. How can we then, if there is no absolute truth, or if it's not possible to monitor and safeguard truth on the internet, what can you do? Well, I have a graph here that we like to use when we think about the internet. And what we often see is that the solution to fake news and disinformation and trolls is fact-checking. In the circle, you can see the white ball of a fact-checker that is basically eaten by trolls and bits of fake news. It's simply impossible in the vast amount of the internet to check every message or every post on a flag of truth or false. Also, it takes a wrong assumption of what disinformation and fake news is about. It's not so much about is a narrative or a claim true, it's more about the techniques that sort of structure and amplify such messages and that actually influence your, mine, opinion, and that those are democracies. So the way we look at disinformation is twofold. It's a psychological issue, so how are people influenced? Which tactics are used to polarize, to create doubt, simply to ask questions. Have you heard about this rumor? And the impact that conspiracy theories and trolls and fake arguments have on your minds and our minds. And then the second is a more cyber approach. How are these messages actually amplified? Which techniques and tactics are used on the internet to create bot accounts and bot networks that slowly and secretly spread messages on a far wider scale than you can think of. But as I said, apart from this introduction and this vision, today we are the troll army. So what I want to do is 2 or 3 things, depending on the time, and I ask your commitment. So please take into account the Meti meter link. I'll show you the code more often. we're going to do two things. One is that we're going to play a little bit of one of the tools that we have developed. This one, it's called the Bad News Game. It's a game we developed about 3-4 years ago, and you can create your own disinformation campaign in that app, fictitiously, of course. And by that, you can learn slowly about the steps of disinformation. So to get your minds flowing and get to start thinking as a troll, we together, because we can't do it with all of you, sadly, in the same room, but we're going to play one chapter of that game to get you started. And then I have one or two assignments for you to think about the best way to manipulate. Yeah, let's start it.
Oh, yes, I'm your guinea pig.
This is all proof. This is actually, we developed this together with the University of Cambridge, and it's based on a method, a scientific method, which we call inoculation. And it's the assumption that if you learn a little bit about the way the bad guys think, or like a vaccine, if you get a little bit of the disease, you improve your resilience yourself. Let's play. I have to do that, right?
Yes.
This one. Okay, so bear with us. If you want to, after the lecture, I would like to invite you to play the game yourself. Go to getbadnews.com. But for now, we will play a part of it ourselves to give you an idea of what it does. So you're invited, Sanne, to think along. And there's a bot here that welcomes you. So hi there, good to see you. I'll do this. I'll make this choice for you. What we're going to do is we're going to make choices, and Sanne is going to try to be as evil as possible. All right? You can do the same. You're here for the position of disinformation and fake news tycoon. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that's right.
Fair enough. So, as many people, you have fears and anxieties, so you're probably frustrated about something, aren't we all? Let's start to use Twitter, or not?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Trump does it.
Trump does it, we can do it.
It's a good way.
I'm not angry enough about the government, or you want to tweet this. This government is a complete and utter failure. Resign, losers. What do you choose?
Yeah, sure. Tweet this.
Tweet this. So look, your constructive criticism of the government got you a few followers. It's quite easy, right? If you just spread a sentiment, a clickbait sentiment, often people like to get attracted to that emotional response, that doubtful response. And as you can see, you just managed, Sanne, to get 8 followers that agree with your position or share your thoughts. A start is a start. Or what do I do next?
No, what do I do next, of course?
Well, people don't find you very credible. It's true. In the bottom left, you can see your credibility. Do people actually believe what you're saying is true or false? At the moment, you're not very convincing. You have a small amount of followers and not a lot of credibility, so we definitely have to work on that. Are you ready, or you want to know more?
No, I'm ready.
You're ready. Great to hear. But first, would you like to take part in a study on fake news recognition? Well, this is the Cambridge part. If you play the game, please do so. For now, we're going to leave this because that would be redundant, and I want to give you the space to answer that survey. All right. To gain authority, we can start by borrowing someone else's credibility. What do you want to do, Sanne? You have 2 options. Fake an official Twitter account or impersonate someone important.
Fake an official Twitter account.
Let's fake it. Donald J. Trump, the 54th President of the United States of America. After long deliberation with my generals, I have decided to declare war on North Korea. Kim Jong-un. Do you want to tweet this or not?
No, I don't think they will believe me.
All right, fair enough. Another option by NASA. Meteor alert. Large space object set to hit U.S. West Coast. Be safe. Again, what do you choose?
No, not this one.
Fair enough. We have another option. Nickelodeon. We are announcing the immediate and permanent cancellation of SpongeBob SquarePants. Even SpongeBob can be cancelled.
It is, of course, very tempting, but no, please, let's go back to one of the others then.
It's Trump or it's the NASA?
Then the NASA.
Then the NASA. Tweet this. A fake alert can scare people shirtless. Did you notice NASA's slightly different username? You can scroll up back to check. I hope I pointed it out already that there were some misspellings there. So let's say we got this. To show you, we have some extra followers, and also there's more credibility. Looks like we have fooled some Twitter users, Sanne. It's easy, no? And it's fun, actually.
It actually is, yeah.
Check reactions by Jane, medical doctor. My biggest fear is death by meteor strike incoming. Watch out, please be safe. She's worried. And Ben, This looks serious. I hope this isn't the apocalypse. Pray for the USA. Got them. How are you feeling? Pray for the USA. Yeah, that's pretty relevant.
No, I feel pretty good, of course.
You feel good?
Yeah.
It is exciting to get responses. Me too, but you can't keep imitating people forever. So what's the next step?
I want to go pro.
You want to go pro. Wonderful idea. Where do you begin, Sana? A news site or a blog?
Start a new site.
News site. Well, we're going to choose a name because we have to invent this news site, right? You have a couple of choices. The Cosmos Post.
No, not great.
Honest Truth Online.
No.
The Best Words.
Yeah, okay, let's do this one.
The Best Words? Fair enough. Love it. There's an announcement.
Okay, yeah. Not by us, though.
We are actually in the NS train, and there's a whistle story. Not bad. What will be your job title at the Best Words?
I'm the editor-in-chief.
Sure. I mean, it's your blog, isn't it? Or your site. Looking good, Chief, but the Best Words still needs a slogan. Choose one. Bursting the mainstream media bubble.
No, let's check another one.
Another one. Now online, the best words, a concerned citizen's personal opinion.
No.
Could be better. Now online, the best words, what they don't want you to read.
Yes, that's it.
That's it. Good job, Chief. The best words has now become the basis of your fake news empire. All right. Here you have earned a badge because it's supposed to be fun, and there are 6 more badges to earn. You just achieved the impersonation. A minute ago, you were just an angry citizen. Now you're a big shot editor-in-chief running a real news site. I want to keep it here for now. You agree?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Then I'll just leave the floor to you.
Yeah, and I'll continue to tell you the impact of this. I mean, in the next steps, in 6 steps, you will start your own disinformation campaign very successfully. Of course, it's fictitious, but the tactics that we have gathered are tactics that are commonly used by all kinds of real news sites that pretend to be real or that are actually not real, but also just by Twitter accounts and by famous people. Let me go back to my presentation. This one. And, oh yeah, briefly, remember to comment. Again, menti.com and use this code. It's 5602934. Just give you a couple of seconds to process that because I would love you to get involved. There's no question yet now, but if you have any questions for me, let me know. I actually have my iPad here so I can check it. But I want to get your opinions in a bit. No comments yet. Fair enough. So what this game does is it sets you in the mindset of the bad guy and it shows you how easy it can be to manipulate. But actually what we saw is that by studying the outcomes is that you actually become more resilient in recognizing those same tactics when they're used against you. Here's some reliability. I won't go too deep into it, but basically, and this shows it even more, that the inoculation is effective, very effective in the pre-test and in the post-test directly, and even in the 5 weeks after, we see a decline. And it simply means that if you're asked to recognize fake accounts, clickbait, news titles, and other things, you become more resilient. You are more effectively aware of that they're used against you. This is basically the method that we use within DROG the entire time in all operations to make sure that citizens and organizations, governments become more protected and have the better defenses against fake news. The game went viral. On the right, you see our the researcher from Cambridge being interviewed by CNN. Just fun to know. And we went viral on Reddit as well. That was great. And if you want, you can join the group. Go to badnews.com. You can play the game. You can leave your information. And basically, yeah, that would be great. However, as I said before, this is one of the tools that we've developed. And I'm the director of ATTAC. ATTAC is another project. And we're looking into how we can work with governments and tech and science together to actually create better solutions against disinformation. The tactic that you just seen, just the impersonation, happens very frequently. In 2016, this became the first time that fake news went viral. BuzzFeed discovered that during the US elections, there was a lot of tactics used to influence the opinion of the public wrongly. And it's a funny story that they figured out as well that about 60% of all the fake comments that you saw in Facebook groups and on social media actually came from one small village in northern Macedonia, Veles. And to show you that disinformation is not so much about truth or false and about fact-checking, but simply sometimes about earning money or other tactics, these guys in Veles, these boys and girls in Veles, they just wanted to earn money. And they were very good at launching clickbait, growth hacking Facebook pages where they earned their revenue based on Google Ads. And what turned out to be, Donald Trump's tweet would have been more credible with a stuck-in-place caps lock. Yeah, that's true. we will improve on that. It's great to see your comments coming in. So I will try to, as much as I can, to reply on them. And if you have a question, let me know. Anyway, so back to the boys in Veles, the boys and girls in Veles. They just wanted to earn money, and they figured out the best topic to earn money with were the US elections, to basically create confusion about Hillary Clinton, the craziest rumors, just earn a lot of clicks. And that's why they got involved, and they actually were able to polarize within Facebook groups of one supporter, of Clinton and of Trump. They actually took over the entire discussion and just started building crazier and crazier rumors that people clicked on. They earned their money, and they actually had an impact on the US elections. That's about 4 years ago, and obviously we had the elections in the US a couple of days, a week ago too. And again, we were not free of the same tactics that we saw. To give you an example of how easy it is, basically this was a video, but there was also a picture of a ballot box. There was a picture of a ballot box being loaded in a van, or in this case, there's a video where it's put in a crate. It was all officials that were dealing with those crates, right, with the ballot boxes. But if you just add another crazy, doubtful hashtag, and you ask the question, what are people doing with this ballot box? Is it hidden? Is it taken away? Is it stolen? You don't even have to have proof, but you start a doubt, a rumor that people that are anxious and that are afraid actually easily jump on, and they amplify that message. So sometimes just a question or a screenshot or just completely changing the context of a picture can be enough to start the amplification of a rumor. That's how we analyze. This is not the most beautiful. Actually, these are my drawings in the PowerPoint. But I tried to show the messiness of this problem, because we see that governments that, of course, try to do something about it have blamed the platforms like Facebook and Twitter for being responsible for the flows of disinformation, and they tried to bring them to court. It's not their problem, it's the platform's problem, and the other way around. The platforms call upon policy to come up with solutions and regulation that is not limiting freedom of speech, but that actually makes sure that fake news is not spread. Experts have little trust in the governments, and the tech, which have the capacity, is not very much involved. So it leaves a messy situation. And I come back to the picture that we had before, where the solution is, the only real solution that is used is fact-checking. So journalists that are very much involved, and it's a good thing that they do so, because it's good to prove things that are wrong and right. But the sole responsibility lies on their shoulders to come up with a better digital space and a better access to information, which is simply impossible. So we believe that if you just focus on that, you miss the entire problem, where actually new platforms like TikTok and new actors start to understand the effectiveness of spreading disinformation by just simply creating some kind of bot farm or troll farm to push your own narrative. And to show you some examples, the creepiness and the easiness of how you would be able to do that. I myself have a fake Facebook account, and this is my profile picture. It's from a website, thispersondoesnotexist.com. And basically, it's a machine learning program. It's a website, and every time you refresh, you ask this computer that's behind this website to generate a new profile picture. So these people, they do not exist. They are not even collected by different pieces of pictures. They are actually generated by a computer, because he knows how to make a face. These are all anonymous, non-existent people. And if you think about the potential that if this could be a video or an audio or just a picture, and you you create all kinds of accounts with these photos, it's really impossible to detect the source and really impossible to detect where they come from. And they can be very easy tools to amplify your messages and bot accounts that can push your narratives. So we're dealing with a real big issue. That being said, I would like to ask you some questions, and I have two cases. Case one is my question to you: if you would have the resources and the time from now on till March, and you are part of a troll farm, or you have a bot account or a bot network at hand, what would you do before March, when we have the Dutch elections? What tactics would you use to influence the opinion, to influence the outcome of the elections? I think it's really important to start thinking of the potential and to think as the bad guy, to understand what things need to be regulated and what things need to be limited. And I'd like to invite you to do the same. Sadly, normally I will do this in a room where I can get your feedback straight away. So with puppy eyes, I'll rely on your input. I'll be waiting for a bit, 1 or 2 minutes, to get your input. And all I'm asking is a very simple word, a name for a tactic that you would use. Get creative. Think of funny terms that you'd like to share related to a tactic. How would you actively influence the Dutch elections in March? Yeah, there you go. You can leave the comments on the Menti, use the code. All ideas are great. It's just to get you started to think as the bad guy. And yeah, I'm curious to see what you can come up with. To give you a bit of a competition, the first comment has already joined. Someone left a comment, and the second just came in. I know we're with 30 people. It would be great if we get some more than 2. We're on 5 now. Let's make it to 10. And I'd like to invite you, I mean, you're studying at the TU, look at this as a technical, like I said before, right? There's a psychological element. So how do you influence the opinion? And I see some coming in which are very useful. But also, how would you do that technically? How would you amplify your message? What will you need? What kind of tools would you need at hand to be able to spread that message? There we go. Ooh, I see some coming in that are very sneaky. Yeah, I can actually show it. Well, I'll show it in a second. There we go. Okay, I'll leave it for now. Just one technical question. I need to click on Activate Slide. Where are the... I don't have the comments on the iPad anymore. I can do it here, it's fine. Shall I give it to you for 1 sec? Thank you. Okay, so as I said before, the way I look at disinformation and fake news is twofold. There's an influence of the opinion, of the minds of people, so the psychological impact, and there is the technical infrastructure that you need to amplify the message and basically get access to the minds of those people. What I see here is brilliant. I see some things coming in that are very, very effective tactics that are already being used now to influence the opinion, like spread rumors about politicians. It's very useful to try to discredit, right? So we talk about discrediting in that case. Discredit a public figure that tries to need to defend himself. What we often see is if you want to do that effectively, it's good to incite doubt and use emotions. Does it work again? Or? Yeah. To use emotions and doubt that people might resonate with. And the moment a public figure needs to try to defend himself, he's already in a corner, and it becomes very difficult to stay away and not to stay linked to that rumor, even if it's not true. Psychological war with fear. It's true that fear is very effective. But I'd like to focus on another one, which I thought was very interesting, that's more focused on the technical infrastructure. This one, it's called fake fact checkers who serve my agenda. I think that is brilliant. Basically, you would start a new website saying, I am actually a fact checking and I am bringing you the truth. And all you have to do is just counter arguments that might even be true, but you just provide different information. And if you manage to amplify those doubts on the right Facebook pages, it can be actually super effective. Start a troll campaign on the Forum for Democratie to make them look that they are taking money straight from the Kremlin, which is partly true anyway. I mean, of course, let me point out this. I'm not taking any political stance here, but for any disinformation campaign, in the end, you need a narrative. What I would like for you to take away of this day today, though, one of the golden tickets, let's say, is that the narrative is quite irrelevant if you want to become effective. I mean, you need to have a good story, sure, but it's sort of the end of the stream. First, you need to have proper tactics, techniques, and the right tactics used to influence people. And you can come up with the craziest narratives. If you look at QAnon, it's true, like you can come up with the craziest narratives. As long as you bring it to the right people and people that already have a certain anxiety or certain fears that might resonate with, they sort of join your group. So as fun as it is to think about the craziest narrative, it's not the most important. Scandal. Start a scandal with all kinds of assumptions that are extremely close to the truth. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of tactics like whataboutism, that you simply try to divert the attention to another story if you get criticized. Or what we like to talk about, what we've seen a lot during the Corona campaign, is asking questions. So videos, I'm not sure if you've seen the video of a doctor asking all kinds of questions relating to the coronavirus and the effectiveness of the medical system in the Netherlands. All he basically did was just asking questions that were not based on any evidence, but he was all right to sort of ask for the truth, right? Just asking for the truth can be very efficient. I would make headlines that are very clickbaity so that they are clicked on, and the algorithms will pick them up and spread them even more. Yeah, I mean, algorithms are very much in favor of disinformation, people, because if you use emotions and negative sentiments, you're very likely to get high up in the algorithms. Okay, so this was just a start, right? You already came up with some ideas on how to start your disinformation campaign in the elections in March. But of course, I got 10 more minutes. You got 10 more minutes. So the last exercise. Of course, this one. Of course, sometimes platforms and governments try to limit your freedom, which is a good thing. If we make it concrete, in the last elections of 2020, the US elections, Twitter installed a policy that tried to limit the spread of false information. And what they do at the moment is, at the moment a tweet is categorized by their, internally by them as including false information, the tweet gets not banned, it gets covered, right? So you cannot see the content anymore. Looks a bit like this. Sadly, the best example of such a tweet being covered is by the former or still current president of the United States, Donald Trump. Basically, if he has a tweet that contains false information, Twitter bans it. And I'd like you to keep thinking in the line that you just said. You want to start a scandal, you want to start a fact check, you want to be active on social media to influence the population. But Twitter has given you some limitations. How would you, as an evil mind, circumvent this policy? So what would you do? Let's say if you would post a tweet and it contains false information and it gets covered, what would you still do to reach your audience? How would you circumvent Twitter policy to cover up tweets flagged as false information? Would you use different platforms? Would you use different tactics? Shoot. Again, it's an experiment, so please don't leave me hanging. I'll be waiting for your comments to come in. Take your time to think about it. And this is really focusing on the technical infrastructure, right? What would you do to try to work around it if you cannot simply just post false information in a tweet any longer? I do like to say, sorry if I didn't comment on all your things, but somebody posted addition to my previous Telegram comment. If you have 2 or 3 fake accounts, you could fake an actual discussion between the two. People will likely join in. This is like echo chambering, that we call that. And this is actually has been very effective in 2016. You can check Facebook pages where simply pro and con arguments at some point, 3 months prior to the US elections in 2016 and a month after, the majority of comments were actually by bot accounts. So the entire discussion was taken over by fake accounts, and people didn't even notice. It was hard to notice. They were very well programmed and to deceive. So yeah, that is a very useful tactic. Well done. All right, put it in movies. The first one's coming in. Sure. Let's start our own distribution company with easy, short documentaries, and we just try to reach the people via different platforms. Start questioning how Twitter decides which tweets are flagged. That's also very smart. Attack the expert or the platform itself. It's actually very hard to get information on how they do this, so that is, even for the good people, a relevant question. How are tweets covered? Don't post the misinformation in the tweet itself, but rather post a link to another platform, your own website at which you present it. Thank you for that. That's basically one of the answers I was looking for. Oh, I can show it, sorry. And then I need to do it full screen, present. I was reading some of your comments, and I like this one. Don't post the misinformation in the tweet itself, but rather post a link to another platform, your own website at which you present it. This is brilliant, right? This is kind of what we do at our work. We try to brainstorm about how we can come up with loopholes in policies, of course, to improve them. And this is a very simple one. I mean, it covers a tweet, but it doesn't cover any access to it. In fact, you could even control copy the same content, slightly make it into a different slightly use different semantics, post it in the same Twitter hashtags or same Facebook groups, and you can sort of keep using it. Put your inflaming text in an image so the algorithm can't read it, or make sure to include certain safe words. Perfect. Memes and photos. Start with a very small deviation, then build a narrative and make a timeline with multiple tweets. Tweet as fast as possible that they're silencing me and that my concerns are found here and support here. Great. This is it, right? I mean, I just want to show how hard it is to come up with solutions and how easy it is actually to circumvent them. And what you guys all did is successfessly circumvent the most important Twitter policy that they have installed to try to limit disinformation in the US elections. So there's a long road to put it there. I have a couple more minutes, so I want to go back to my presentation, show you very briefly what we're doing, and leave some time for questions too. So attack is, we call it a test bed. I was doubting if I'm on the verge of not being relevant anymore when I talk about the matrix, but I hope I do. Basically what we're doing as attack is building environments and solutions in which we can test. So what we just did is an exercise that we do at the office daily, but we also build a simulation environment that looks like Twitter a little bit. It's not very realistic yet, but basically it can. This is the tool. Here's a timeline with tweets and messages, and these are all fake accounts and bots that just post comments. And you have a dashboard if you want to get in the environment where you can launch your own bot networks and your own disinformation campaigns. And we're trying to do this like the the test bed in, or the construct in the matrix, where we want to build a simulation and training environment where you can improve your skills as government officials, as students, as researchers, to really learn to think, learn to think about as the bad guy and to understand the way they operate, so you are also better at catching it. I have to laugh because I see a beautiful comment coming in, which is information overflow. And I'd like to hire you at the moment, because this is another thing that we see, is that many governments, the policies that governments install to try to limit disinformation is very often based around this. It's a portal. They often, like Italy, Germany, they have portals where you can report a case of false information as a citizen, right? Then they try to do research manually to look into that case, and if the investigation turns out that it's false information, then it can go to court, or it gets banned, or there's a fine. Of course, the intention is great, but how is it easy to circumvent it? Well, what you just did, information overflow, is great. You just launch every day 300-400 fake cases, fake reports, and the government cannot manually check those cases anymore, which means that disinformation can run freely in those countries. What we try to do is come up with solutions and work with government. Work with governments. For example, with Ukraine, we have a letter of intent where the Ukraine asked us in a fictitious environment to provide full assistance in shaping an exercise to target Ukraine in a controlled environment by selected experts. We're working with hackers, we're working with journalists, we're working with governments to try to think of how is it that a bot network operates. What is it that it does? I think that makes it relevant for me to speak here, but I also would like to invite you, that computer scientists, data scientists, people studying at the TU are very much needed in understanding the nature of the amplification of messages. And I hope this was at least a lecture in trying to get you involved, trying to make you think as the bad guy, but of course, obviously, to try to do something positive with it. Start your own projects, or if you want to know more about it, you can also contact me. I'll leave the last words here from me, and you can get some questions in if you feel like it. But I have one invitation to you. If you like this, you can always send me an email. It's jesse@attack.org. And what I would like you to do is send your finest idea. Just build on what you just did. What tactic would you use? What name would you give it? How would you successfully start an influence operation? Or how would you manipulate people online? Give it a name, give it a description. I will look into them personally, and my team as well. And I would love to invite you to do that, so because the best idea, I think, is worth something, and we would love to invite you for a call to discuss how you came to that idea, what you think you need to develop it, whatever. Basically, to get you guys involved, because it's a very important topic. It really is, and I hope this gave you at least an exciting introduction to it, or if not, thanks for your time anyway. This was my part. Leave questions, and I think you can come up as well. Maybe you have questions, Sanne, and otherwise.
All right, thank you. Yes, please, you have some more minutes. So if you have any questions, just leave them either in the chat on YouTube if you are logged on, or on the Mentimeter. So please take your time and leave whatever you still would like to know. In the meantime, I would like to thank you very much, Jess, for this informing talk. Is there anything else, because you had just you had a message to TU Delft students that they are very much needed, and in the way they think, actually. Yep. But is there anything generally that we can do to be more aware of this, or to counter it, or if we're not TU Delft students, or not in computer science? Or
I don't want it to sound too much like a trophy room, but play the game. We have all kinds of versions of the game, actually. We just launched 2 games. One is called Harmony Square. It's for the US public. It's on election influence. We actually built the game together with Cambridge and Homeland Security. They just released it a couple of days ago. And there's also a game called Go Viral, which is together with the WHO and the UK Cabinet's Office, which is focusing on disinformation and misinformation around coronavirus. So play that game because it sort of is a funny way to get involved in it. And of course, like personally, but that's on a very low level, I would advise, the audience that I can reach easily with my work is students and young people. But to be really fair, the most vulnerable part of society are actually those that try to keep up with technical developments and innovations, but fall behind. And frequently, they are people that are older than youth is. And so it can be your parents, it can be your uncle. What we obviously have seen in coronavirus is a lot of WhatsApp threads and messages that are sent through. And just try to start an open debate. It's always good to counter it. Don't send through such messages, but if you have a friend or an uncle or family or relative, try to make them aware of the impact if they are not sure about the content. What we often do is use humor to make someone aware of the sort of the subtle anxiety there. But I mean, this is not the most effective. I think your brains are very capable of actually doing more than that, and try to get involved in the scene. Really, that would be my personal ambition. I have some questions coming in. Should I try?
Sure, definitely.
There was one already at the start, which I do want to come back to, the personal motivation to join a troll army. Of course, there's an ideological component, but I hope that I've shown you implicitly already that there's also just a financial component, that it's actually very effective to earn money via disinformation. So that is also good to understand that it's not always a political motivation to do so. And then let me see. How to personally protect myself from propaganda. The news around the elections was quite left-wing oriented. So I actually checked Fox News from time to time. How to check my own sources. I mean, this is not really my expertise, as in this is not the work that I do. I'm not focused on the news so much. I'm more focused on the infrastructure that sort of on which news sites actually have to publish. But obviously, from a personal common sense, I think you pointed out yourself fairly. Just be smart and don't base yourself on one source. When it comes to fake news, I hope that I try to make you aware that the actual impact is far more technical and subtle. So try to not just look at the news as that is true or false, but try to increase your resilience against fake accounts, against screenshots, and also make your friends aware of it if you see that happening. Troll armies in combination with big data. Quite a powerful combination to target specific customer groups. How to counter this? I don't have a solution to that, really. I think you fairly pointed out the real biggest threat here, in that big data, algorithms, people with wrong intentions can very easily abuse those systems. So one solution would be to try to change that system, but for that you need cooperation with platforms and governments. That's what we're trying to do with ATTACK. We have an expert group of 50 people of different governments, of Microsoft, Google, not really Facebook sometimes, they are there. And we're trying to talk with them, like, what can you do? But the real challenge is there. And I don't have a solution for that now, really. Then the last question on information. I have 2 more minutes. On information overflow, certain illegitimate presidents also do this in debates. They flood the other person with a gazillion of false claims to prevent the other from debunking all of them. What we like to do is humor. So if somebody is doing that, just come up with an even sort of funnier, less realistic response. That sometimes helps. But again, I'd like to point out that the moment you end up in this information overflow, you are again in the field of content moderation. And it should really be that platforms and governments provide a better structure for the digital space, that such things cannot so easily be done. So when it happens to you, personally, if you have a personal attack, I hope Twitter is kind enough for you to be able to report it. But more on a structural level, it requires a different type of platform. Yeah. I tried to get some responses.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching and sharing your questions and thoughts with us. I have one other question. I was just wondering, do you notice at DROG that people are actually more aware of the tactics and the trickery?
Yeah, I think, for example, the fact that even, which is not people, but even the platforms themselves are more aware, and whether it's out of reputational concerns, but they are more aware as well of the impact that their platforms have in influencing public opinion. So even though it's very limited and small steps that Twitter is taking, the fact that they're moving is at least something. Then when it comes to people, specifically young people are actually often very much more aware of how new apps like TikTok or Twitter are actually used to deceive. And again, I'm more worried about maybe even myself, but like people that sort of at some point sort of get pushed out of the technical innovation. But that would be really the task of a government to try to reach also the vulnerable groups in society via education. So to give a sort of good conclusion, I think if you combine media literacy, so education on how to read the news and how to act as an individual digitally, with restructuring of the internet, then you can create solutions. So I am positive, but we need more cooperation. And at last, is this a troll course? Yeah, I was hoping that it would feel like a troll course, and we're actually thinking about doing this more often. So reach out if you thought this was interesting. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Jesse. And I would like to thank you for watching us online. Next week, we have another lunch lecture in the Spotting Bullshit series. Yes, maybe you can hit the button and then we move to the last slide, which is about fact-checking and fake news with Shannon Bucker. And this one is actually via Zoom, so please go to sg.tudelft.nl to find the Zoom link there. All right. Then we'll call it a day here, and I wish you a very happy Tuesday. Thank you.